Well, we are joined now by Qinduo Xu. He's a political analyst at China Radio International. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about where this rift actually stems from.
Well, this, I think, for Australians, there's, both politicians, the establishment, and the public. There's deep down, there's anxiety about the changing world. We know that with coming to office for President Donald Trump, it appears the U.S. is somehow retreating from this global community over there. And then there's increasing continuous rise of China. And Australians feel somehow they are living in the region that's increasingly influenced by the Chinese, by China. And especially in some areas actually dominated by China, like trade and investment, infrastructure, construction. So there's this sense of uncertainty of, if the U.S. is retreating, which country will provide this protection for Australians? And China is an important partner, but not an ally. So, and then, if you look at within Australia, you see growing number of immigrants from China and other countries, in Chinese. And then you have this growing presence of Chinese students, as reported, 1/3 of the foreign students are from China. So I think there's, from the government to the public, there is, to a certain degree, there's a real concern. And then with the media hype, there's an exaggerated threat somehow from China.
So, Qinduo, Beijing is issuing a stunning rebuke of the Prime Minister, Turnbull Prime Minister, saying his allegations of party interference are poisoning the relations. How serious do you feel like it is at this point?
Well, what I can tell you is that, the whole year, this year, actually, you see in the media in Australia, there's basically series of media coverage of Chinese, spying, Chinese infiltration, Chinese trying to sway the political wind in Australia. I think that a lot of them are not based on the facts, not based on the evidence, and there's a lot of exaggeration. Somehow you can say that you can question whether the reporters or editors are really, exercising a sense of responsibility for providing this objective information about this very important relationship. And then, from the Chinese side, this is an increasing frustration. Why you are seeing us as a threat? Because, we only want to do business with Australia. We have no interest, no intention in Australian politics. And then in Australia, recently, there's this domestic election about one legislative seat. So, between the Liberal, the ruling party, and then the Liberal opposition party. So this is a, retail election politics, somehow at the expense of the China relationship.
Right.
Very unfortunately, it is hurting this relationship now.
Well, China is Australia's largest trading partner, as I think you pointed out, and the biggest source of foreign political funds. Australia has a lot to lose here.
Well, I think, if you look at all the media coverage, basically anti-China panic in recent times, there's only one solid case. That is the political donation from an Australian Chinese. Remember, it's not Chinese, Australian citizen. He is Chinese. He donated to Australian many political figures, including this Sam Dastyria. This, who resigned, after the pressure and the criticism from the media, from obviously the Liberal, the ruling party over there. He received, just like other political figures, some political donation. Donation itself is not illegal, remember? And secondly, he issued remarks considered as pro-China somehow. Look, if you take a closer look at his remarks about the South China Sea issue, it's actually quite wise remarks. He said that, China, has 1,000 of years of history. It has an issue of sovereignty and territorial integrity. We Australians, as a friend of China, we should be clear at which point we should get involved, at which point we should not get involved. He's somehow not really following closely with this mainstream, with the political correctness that is the official line on South China Sea.
Yes.
And then he's being portrayed as a traitor.
Well, Qinduo, thank you so much for your time joining us from Beijing.